Rachel Dawson, a 50-year-old widow living quietly in the suburbs of Austin, Texas, hadn't seen her stepson Ethan in nearly 3 years. Not since he left for the military, broken by his father's sudden death and the silence that followed. When he called to say he was coming for a short 3-day visit, Rachel wasn't sure what to expect. The boy she once helped raise was now a tall, mature 24-year-old man with calm eyes and a mysterious aura that felt foreign yet familiar. From the moment he entered the house, something about Ethan unsettled her. Not in a fearful way, but in a way that stirred long-buried emotions she didn't know she had. The first night, they sat for hours in the same room talking about life, memories, and regrets. Rachel noticed how his gaze lingered on her with a weight she couldn't explain. On the second day, a storm rolled over the city, cutting the power. Trapped in the candlelit living room, they shared old family photo albums and laughter that slowly turned into deep confessions. Ethan revealed he never felt accepted, never felt loved by anyone except her, and that his feelings for her had changed long ago, becoming something he could never say when his father was alive. Rachel was stunned, frozen in both disbelief and guilt, unsure how to process such words from the very child she once bathed and schooled. The third day, tension hung in the air like perfume, faint but present. Rachel tried to keep her distance, but the emotional intensity in the house was too thick to ignore. As the sun set on the final evening, Ethan packed to leave, standing at the door with eyes full of emotions he couldn't voice. But before stepping out, he turned and said, "I don't expect anything, Rachel. I just wanted you to know the truth. You were always the heart of this house, not just my stepmother." And with that, he walked out into the night, leaving Rachel staring at the door, her heart pounding with a mix of shock, confusion, and something she wasn't ready to name. Those 3 days changed everything, not through actions, but through truths that were buried too long. Rachel closed the door, unsure whether the silence that followed was comforting or deafening, but one thing was certain. Nothing in her life would feel ordinary again. It had been exactly 7 months since Ethan had walked out Rachel's door, leaving behind a silence that echoed louder than any goodbye. Rachel had tried to push that conversation out of her mind, burying it beneath routines and books and gardening, yet his final words still haunted her late at night. "You were always the heart of this house." She had told no one. Not her sister, not her best friend.
How could she?
How does a woman speak about such a confession from someone she helped raise, someone who saw her as more than a mother figure? But when Rachel received a short, handwritten letter in the mail postmarked from Seattle, her hands trembled. It was from Ethan. "I'll be passing through Austin again. I hope we can talk. Just for a day," the note read. No expectations.
Just 1 day.
Rachel debated for hours whether to reply. But something inside her said it was unfinished. This wasn't closure. This was the beginning of something misunderstood. When Ethan finally arrived at her front door again, he was calmer than before, wiser, perhaps more certain of himself. They sat in the same room, only this time, the silence between them wasn't awkward. It was heavy, charged. "I thought about what I said," Ethan admitted. "It wasn't fair to put that on you. I just needed you to know before I could move on with my life." Rachel nodded, still unsure how to respond. Her emotions tangled like vines around her heart. "Do you regret telling me?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled faintly.
No.
"But I feared it made you uncomfortable." Rachel stood up and walked to the kitchen, not because she needed tea, but because she needed space to think. And in that moment, leaning against the counter, she realized it wasn't discomfort she had felt after his confession. It was guilt. Guilt that a part of her had also noticed the changes in Ethan. The way he looked at her. The way she sometimes caught herself watching him from the corner of her eye. Not inappropriately, but emotionally.
Deeply.
The house had been empty for years. Her nights were quiet. Her life still. And Ethan's presence had reminded her what it felt like to matter again. As night fell, they ended up on the back porch, watching stars fill the sky. "You know," Ethan said, "in all the places I've been, I've never felt peace like I do here." Rachel looked at him, her heart thudding. That's because this house was your father's dream.
And mine.
But it always needed laughter. It needed you. A pause. Long silent.
Honest.
I'm leaving for overseas work next month, Ethan continued. I don't know when I'll be back. Rachel's eyes burned with emotion she didn't want to name. She turned to him and finally said the words that had been sitting on her chest for 7 months. You shook something inside me I wasn't ready to admit. I wasn't just shocked, Ethan. I was afraid because a part of me understood your feelings. Ethan stood still, unsure if he heard her correctly. But I'm still your stepmother, she said with a weak smile. That hasn't changed, even if the world feels upside down. He reached out, touched her hand, softly with respect, and said, then maybe, for now, it's enough to just be honest with each other. No promises. No expectations. Just truth. And sometimes, truth is the most powerful form of love there is. They sat in silence again. Not lost. Not broken. Just two hearts trying to understand where lines blur, where love takes unexpected shapes, and where healing begins.